So hi, I am Lionel Sanchez, Assistant Professor at the Department of Architecture at the University of San Carlos, and I am here to discuss from the course Interior Environments, and the topic for this presentation is applying interiority. So here in this presentation, we describe how each chapter of the book that we are going to read addresses a distinct aspect of this rich term called interiority, as well as how each chapter of the book presents a term methodological study. Towards the end of the 20th century, a technical term increased in the prominence of the field of interior design literature, and it is called interiority. And here is C.J. Hewlett, who wrote in 1985, and I quote, "Interiority as a design solution itemizes the tiers of awareness to which we respond, and these include our aspirations, functions, individualism, myths, place, structure, who, why, and probably others." According to Hewlett, the role of interior design is to embrace realities such as myths, aspirations, and individualisms rather than just placing objects in a physical arrays for aesthetic effect or for human function. These are not factors that can be measured empirically. The first characteristic of interiority is its non-restriction to actual interiors or spaces enclosed by walls. Wall delineated interior spaces can be quantified numerically in terms of size, dimension, acoustical characteristics, flame spread rating, and other factors. However, interiority as it is currently understood in literature overcomes these limitations. It is true that measurable factors are involved in matters concerning interiority. However, if interiority encompasses individualisms, myths, and aspirations, then it inevitably embraces subjective human experience in an existential sense. So in 2011, Perolini goes on to define interiority as a process within a person that reflects an individual's unique awareness of the world and a psychological relationship to the world that is meaningful. In this vein, writing in 1999, Kathy Garneau's proposal for a narrative design method for interior design also cites Hewlett's call for interiority, which she simply defines as, and I quote, "internal values regarding social and personal awareness." And Susie Atwill, writing in 2012, suggests, and I quote, "highlighting interior design as a designing of interiors focuses on potential new ways of thinking, that is, an interior. How is an interior and when is an interior?" End of quote. Recent literature also provides examples that support this. According to Jacqueline Power, urban interiors, quote unquote, are a growing field of study. Power looks at the Australian Indigenous Palawa People's Village and makes the case that this non-European culture does not understand interior to mean spaces behind walls. And so, and I quote, "the concept of interiority has been proposed as a framework through which to expand the definition of interior as a means of engagement that is not necessarily attached to buildings." End of quote. So for the book that is assigned for you to read regarding the application of interiority, the chapter one with the focus on health will explore the interiority that three minority cultural groups experience at the level of their neighborhoods. So according to Tasula Hajiyani, who wrote chapter one, and I quote, reframing current discourses around neighborhoods and health from the perspective of interiority expands the types of questions that can be asked. As an example of how ethnographic research in a large office setting can help us understand daily life from the perspective of its users, it is provided in Chapter 2. So this is referred to as felt interiority by Isil Oiger and Associates. They write, and I quote, "In situ participation builds rapport, which allows the participant observer to gain empathy with users and provide insights into the subjective details of their experiences. This is essential to gain insight into the felt interiority of the firma employees." End of quote. So, in contrast to the preceding two chapters, which employ fieldwork techniques in real time, Erin Cunningham assesses interiority through historical archives in Chapter 3. Cunningham attempts to access Perolini's description of interiority on the part of the tenants of the tenement as the workings of inner minds and inner dwellings, the working of consciousness and cultural difference, through narrative inquiry of visiting nurse documentation. So in chapter 4, adaptive reuse project is implemented through the application of historical research methods. So here, the emphasis is on converting a 1935 historic house into a bed and breakfast. According to Lisa Tucker, the main difficulty in any project involving adaptive reuse is figuring out how to blend the old and the new into a cohesive expression of the structure's life. So in this case, interiority refers to preserving this historical continuity, which allows both the designer and the experiencer or the end users to live inside a package, and I quote, a package of sense, and quote, that preserves the past phenomenologically in the present. For chapter 5, Brian Orthel combines locally collected oral history with Martin Heidegger's philosophical concept of thingliness, and that is in chapter 5. So, this is how he defends his theory that history is living and moving, quote unquote, as opposed to the widely held belief that it is quote unquote fixed, like a display in a museum. So, this living and moving aspect of experiences with historical artifacts offers another dimension of interiority on both a personal and a collective level. Chapter 6 suggests that each cultural period has its own overall common sense. So here, David Wang suggests that it is within the cultural common sense that designers generate their creative productions as they imbibe it its values and transform those values into built environments. The interior designs of homes reflect the ways in which cultures and the interiority of the common sense evolve over time. The philosophical methods techniques are covered in this chapter, including the search for fundamental ideas and how design expresses those ideas. For some, interiority is explicit. In others, interiority is only implicitly present. Here again, it is the front and back sections of each chapter that highlight this theoretical theme. So we will be going through the entire literature. We will use it as a main source for our discussions for this semester. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day.